All right, today's episode, I think you guys will like it. It's kind of a microcosm of why we love and hate bass fishing. You know, it's like every day I want to quit. You get frustrated. What they were doing yesterday isn't working. And this particular day, I was fishing on the river. There's dropping water, changing conditions, rising and falling water can always be tough, and it's so frustrating. I start out frog fishing, and it's like a prefrontal day. It feels like they should be biting. It almost rains. There's rain on the horizon, and then like the clouds clear out. It gets windy and bright, and then the storms are supposed to come that night. And you'll see I'm catching some frogfish at the start, but just not a lot, and they're missing it, and the water's just getting too low for it. And then I finally figure out what they're doing, and then it gets good, and that's why we all love it. You know, that dropping water, it tends to consolidate them, so there's a lot of dead water, but once you do find them, it gets good. So see how I go through the progression, how I change, and I kind of dial it in. That explains what's missing the frog. Gets sucked in and feel those big splashes and stuff, and had a big blow up, and then screwing around after those stupid things. Ugh. Oh, I had to zoom on my map. That was almost not good. That's the craziest thing I've ever seen right there. Look at it. My bait tied in an overhand knot, like literally. See that? Oh.
literally ripped that out of a pad as soon as it came out, hammered it. Crazy. There we go. Oh, good one. Yeah. That's a big one. Good fish, and the old Slobberknocker. How about that? You know, last year when I was on the Mississippi, the Slobberknocker with that PowerStinger, it's just like a white and green shad. I like that green blade, and then just like a sexy shad looking PowerStinger. That was my best bait. I caught him in every pool I fished. I don't know, they were chasing bait like crazy, and I've tried it this week. I cannot catch them on it. Now we got storms coming in, we have wind blowing. Actually, storms coming overnight, but you know, front coming, and the water has dropped down so much. You look on the bank, there's nothing up on the shore, and they're on the edge of these pads, and it's like 5 feet on the edge of the pads. It's up to, you know, it's bank shallow out to about 5 feet. Man, that bladed jig, that Slobberknocker, freaking whacking him. I'm just throwing it way up to the bank, and the Slobberknocker comes through. Has a wide wobble of that blade, and it just comes through grass, like pad stems and brush so well. And this is a slower, like a 6-to-1 Revo SX reel. I normally use an 8, so I can just kind of slow roll this thing down that drop. It's just kind of a 45-degree drop off there. I'm just slow rolling it, give it a little pops. I get around the pad stems, like the actual stems, not the top of the pads. They're not up on the frog, they're on the stems down below, those root balls. And man, they're smoking on the edge. That's like the third good fish. So I think we found something. Playing with that frog too long today, and the water, I mean, they'll eat a frog, but all that matted stuff is out of the water. So they pulled back, obviously. You know, I'm trying to decide if this is just an area, like a right specific one, because most of us fish in the same little spot, or if this is, you know, just a bait deal. I can use this bait and run around all over this area and catch them. Hoping it's a bait deal. You know, there's all over. There's dozens of them in here, which can happen. Or it may just be that spot, and I just have to sit there and grind through them, and they're all loaded up in one little area. So we're gonna move around a little bit here and see what happens. There we go. That thing hit it 3 times. I'm starting to think I was crazy. That thing hit it 3 different times. Finally got him. Big stump right there. Right where you expect him to be. See, if you're paying attention, I switched rods. This is a Fenwick HMG, which is a $149 rod. It's a 7.2 medium heavy power, so it's got a lot of butt, but it's moderate fast, so it bends way down the rod. So, you know, like 33%, 40% down, it'll bend. So you got a deep bend in it. It's just keeping them hooked up better. That I was using a prototype rod. I'm not only supposed to be on camera with it, but I got to field test it. So, and the fish are biting on a bladed jig, so thought I'd try it, and got a few different actions of that, and you know, was losing a couple of fish, getting frustrated with that, and went back to the Fenwick. This is kind of my go-to for bladed jigs here. I've really started to like this, and you can get it in the world class, but I mean, that's like a $400 rod, and it's really sensitive and stuff. The HMG is high modulus graphite. That's what the HMG stands for. Man, I love this rod, and it's, you know, the price is right at 149 bucks. It's sensitive, lightweight, so I can fish it all day. This is a ½ ounce one. So it kind of wears you out. It's tough on the shoulder. It's a lot of thump and a lot of torque back there, so you don't want a big heavy rod and a tip heavy one. This one's a joy to fish all day. So if you're a big bladed jig guy, chatterbait, Slobberknockers, swim jigs, good with that too. The heavier ones, you do 3/8 up to half. I really like that. 7.2 medium heavy moderate bass. I think another one hit it there. I might be getting bit every time I go by. There might be a little school right there. You can see that big stump sticking just out of the water. Doesn't take a genius to figure out that's a little hot spot. It kept bumping every time I went by it, so I started to think that I was just hitting the stump and I was feeling, I was make-believe. I was getting fooled because I was hitting the stump and not fish. I didn't get it. I didn't feel it that time. And I'm just bringing that Slobberknocker by it. That wide blade, I can just bang right into the stump and then give it a little pause and see it's not doing it now. Must have been a second little fish there or something, but that's the nice thing about the Slobberknocker with that wide wobbling blade. It really comes through brush as well as any bladed jig. I mean, it's just doesn't hang up all the time. That's the biggest knock on those bladed jigs. They're always hung in wood. And this one you can bring it right through brush piles and thick stuff. That's kind of the old saying in bass fishing. The cast you most need to make is the one you least want to make. You have to put it right there. You know sooner or later you're going to snag in it. But I mean, that's where they live, is right next to that stuff. Right through the middle of the patches, the lily pads, and right in the stumps and stuff. So, you got to put it where they live. Didn't fight to the end. He's just sitting here now. Like you saw me, I kind of pulled up and wasn't sure if I have a fish or a pad stem. He's just kind of sitting there. I kind of pulled back. Finally, I feel a little bit. Yeah, I've kind of gone to. I was pumping and working this a lot, and now I'm just kind of slow rolling it. It's almost like more like a crankbait, almost just bringing it close to the bottom and want to whack it. I hooked my thumb on that last cast. Man. First time pitching. I tried to run around and expand this a little bit. I said run around, just work, a few hundred yards up and down. In this section, you see it just makes, on the side of this island here, just makes a little curve. And they're right on, I don't know, there's 100-yard section they seem to be in. That stump was over there, but that was like a lone fish over there. And I don't know, for whatever reason, this corner right here, the wind's kind of blowing up this way back behind me, blowing on it, and I don't know if the current has something to do with this little bend. There's a little eddy or a seam or something. For whatever reason, though, these pads are thinner. It's a steeper, it's a steeper bang. I'm in 5 right here, but it gets 7, 8 up in spots here. So I guess they're right at, it's kind of stacked up here. It makes me think there might be a whole lot of them. Oh, I thought I was getting ones bumping it there. I couldn't tell if I was hitting the bottom or not. It felt like I kept bumping them. Bumping them or he's hitting at it and finally loaded up. I don't know if there's a whole group right there or what. Well, that one loaded up on it, but didn't pull back much after it loaded up. It's kind of what a bite feels like, though. All of a sudden it just gets heavier. And then it pulls. there's that duck wart up there. I just tried to frog that and did get a bite, and I see there's trails from other people have been thrown in there. The water was higher. On the river it's dropped, and it's out of that duckweed. It's just so shallow up there. And the water's kind of muddy and stuff, and they're on the edge of these paths, right anywhere where there's like 5-7 feet of water right on the edge. It drops off real fast. They're in those paths on that edge. So I know it's definitely not been a frog day, a good frog day, just a little fish earlier. Should have been throwing this all day. A 1 pound fish and a 4 pound jump. That's a fun one. Long and lean, and I love to hit that bladed jig and just come flying at you. I took steps back. That's like the, you know, Ikedelli used to always run to the back of the boat, and you know, it's not just theatrics. The quickest way, you can reel fast, but if you take like 5 steps back in the boat, you just move like 10 feet. So surprised I got that one. Usually lose them when they come running right at you like that. Water's like just pea green here. It's weird. It's like green brown, army green, I don't know what you call it. Weird color, but it's not muddy. It's just like a lot of plankton or something. And man, they're in here, mostly smaller ones. You know, that was a better one there, just not fat. It's long though. And one other thing I like about the Slobberknocker, not only is it really weedless coming through brush and stuff, but it thumps so hard. It's like a single blade Colorado like spinnerbait that just thump, thump, thump. I mean, this thing, it pulls so much harder than other bladed jigs, and you can basically, you feel that thump, 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 and when it comes through, all of a sudden when that vibration goes away, it might be fouled, but it's almost always a fish. So when they come up and push it, I mean, it's so easy to feel it. Same with those old thumper spinnerbaits, and it puts out that thump, so they, you know, in muddy water and stuff, cold water, it's going to help trigger bites. But it helps you as the fisherman, those soft little bites where they just get it, and momentarily that thump goes away. I mean, you can't help but tell when this big thump goes away. You feel that resistance like go away. It's not to snap the hook quick. I don't know how many times, it's just a split second change of vibration of the pull. It's just not as hard, and you snap the rod, and boom, you got a fish. Where, like if you were throwing a swim jig or a swim bait or something like that, you never feel that. You never feel the change in the cadence, and you never even set the hook. So that's why that Slobberknocker with that big thump, it's so easy to tell when they just push it a tiny bit, something grabs it, boom, you can just set the hook, you know, real quick. On the whole trip without those. They call them dogfish up here, grinnell, bowfin, mudfish, MFers. They're nasty. He shook loose. I'm so happy. I hate those things. I thought it was a pretty big bass at first, and then boom. Big one, all right. Felt those tap and then missed it, and I was changing my rod out from my left hand to my right hand to cast it. And as I was doing it, I pulled the rod out of my hand. Stinking little fish. I caught one so big that it almost ripped the rod out of my hand. I was telling the whole story. I mean, literally, it almost ripped it out. I got footage.